Good evening. So, it seems as though something has led you to the campsite of the Orator. As you can see, I've stoked the fire, which means it's time for you to pull up your chair and settle in, because tonight, I have another tale to tell. You know, in modern times, it's very common for families to split up. You grow up in your parents' house, and then when you come of age, you move out and you move away. Sometimes just down the road, sometimes to a different town or a different city, but sometimes you move states or even countries away. But in certain parts of the world, that's not how it is. Families stick together. They stay in the same house, not just as a whole family, but through generations. And when generational families stick together, they tend to pass down secrets. Sometimes it's innocent things, a recipe, or maybe a remedy on how to get better when you get sick. But every once in a while, families pass down darker secrets. But before we begin, if you find yourself enjoying this kind of content, first-hand true accounts of the supernatural, paranormal, things that go bump in the night, then allow the spirits to guide your planchette to both the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I upload new content, which is every single day of the week. I upload shorts every single day, and then I upload long form content every Monday and Friday, all at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Second, of course, all of my stories, like I said, are true first-hand accounts of the supernatural and paranormal. Today's story comes from us from Redditor 0101010111. And I'll make sure to link their story below. But if you or anybody you know has a story and you think it would fit well on my channel, just reach out to me on any of my social media and we'll find a time to get together, collect your story, and potentially one day feature it here on The Orator. And lastly, really quickly, I do apologize. I came down with something, so my voice is a little bit weird today. So I apologize for that. I'm going to push through as best as I can. And also, thank you so much. We are closing in on 900 subscribers. That is awesome. It puts us in striking distance of 1,000, which is amazing. So thank you all so much for the support. I appreciate it. And as long as you guys keep tuning in, I'm going to keep putting out great videos. And speaking of which, with all of that out of the way, let's get on to today's story. It's a tale that I call The Ritual. So the year is 2010. Gloria is living over in Europe, and she's in this really small town over there, and she finds this beautiful plot of land. It's this really large grassy area, tons of acreage, and it's right on these beautiful bluffs, and these bluffs have these paths that lead all the way to the top, and then it drops down into the ocean. And so it's just this beautiful, scenic plot of land, and sitting on it is this really old farmhouse. Now, when I say really old farmhouse, sometimes people will think something like 200 years old, really old. No, this house was like 400 to 500 years old. It was in horrible disrepair, barely even standing. But when Gloria went and kind of looked at it, it seemed like the foundation was actually in pretty good health. And so Gloria buys this huge plot of land and decides to go to work putting together this house. And over the next few years, that's exactly what she does. She builds this house back up into this beautiful, refurbished farmhouse. She builds on that same property a second house that's more modernized that her and her family are going to live in. And then there's also this old stone barn, and they renovate that, and they keep it all stone, and it's really cool, but they turn that into like a third little area. And their plan is to make these other two houses, these old houses, into like Airbnbs. These will be destination vacations. People will come from all over to stay in these ancient farmhouses. And they have their property right there and their house right on that land, and so they'll be able to take care of everything. There is a slight burr in the blanket, though. They have neighbors, and the neighbors, of course, because it's such a big plot of land, it's not like they're right next to them, but they do share the land right next to theirs. And these neighbors have been in this house, in this area, for 10 to 15 generations. We're talking hundreds upon hundreds of years. They've all lived in this house. They never move out. They all stay there. And of course, they're a little bit odd. They like things a very particular way, and they have not had neighbors in a very long time. And so in 2010, when Gloria first moves in and she first decides to renovate this house and build stuff up, they weren't exactly rude about it, but they were extremely nosy and pushy, and they asked a lot of questions, and they weren't exactly the nicest neighbors. But Gloria thought, this is a huge plot of land, and I don't care. I don't need to interact with them or anything like that. I guess they can be rude. And so over the years, she puts together these houses, and she wants to, like I said, rent them out. But this family next door, they are angry and aggressive towards her at this point because they also have additional properties that they rent out. And so they're looking at Gloria building these brand new properties, and they're thinking, not only is this competition, but this could like destroy our business. She has all of this money that she's pumping into it, and these houses are beautiful, and ours are potentially going to fall by the wayside. And so they continue to get into fights with Gloria over the years about these houses. They try to railroad all of the paperwork so that when she's trying to do permits and stuff to get this stuff done, it's getting all messed up, and they're trying to do everything they can to basically spike Gloria's wheel and make it so she cannot have this happen. But Gloria, in her head, she's thinking, as annoying as this is, they can only do so much, and at the end of the day, who cares? They'll eventually get over it and realize that this is what I'm doing. I bought it. This property was for sale. I can do whatever I want on my property. I could put whatever money I want and do what I want. And so she's thinking at some point, this other family is just going to eventually give up, leave her alone, and then they'll either go back to peace or they'll just have like this tension, and she's fine with it. And so, the years move on, and they eventually finish this whole build. And Gloria at this point, she's married, she has a beautiful daughter, and they finally move in to this nice new house. Now, this is just post-COVID. We're talking like 2022, 2023, when they finally move into this house. And they're really excited to start this new adventure and have this new income coming in and this beautiful property. But these neighbors continue to get into fights with Gloria, and it doesn't seem like things are going to stop or get better. And Gloria finally just tells them, like, listen, I put money and time into this. I'm not changing it. You're going to have to deal with it. And she thought that that would be the end of it. But then, one night, it's pretty late in the evening, like 6, 7 o'clock at night. The sun is definitely going down and it's getting darker. And Gloria, she's passing by one of her windows, and she looks out. And like I said, it's these nice bluffs, it's grass. There's a couple trees and stuff, but it's great visibility. And she's looking out in her yard, and right by some shrubbery and some trees standing right outside, maybe 30 meters away, is one of her neighbors. Now, he's the oldest son in their house. But when I say son, I don't mean kid. I mean this guy, there's the parents. This is their son, and he's around 50 years old. And he's standing out there, staring at them with this menacing expression, and he's holding this giant scythe. And he's just staring at them in like this terrifying way. And Gloria freaks out. She gets her husband. She's like, can you look at this? This is nuts. And her husband's like, should I go out there and talk to him and address this? And Gloria's like, hell no, these guys are crazy. That dude has a scythe. You're not going out there. And so she runs around and makes sure all the doors and windows are locked fast and that nothing's going to happen. And then they just sit there and stare at this guy. And he just stares at them as the sun goes down for like an hour. He's just staring at them, waiting for it to get darker and darker. And then at some point, the sun goes down. The moon is starting to rise. There's still good enough visibility to see. And as it gets dark, this guy starts to perform a ritualistic dance with this scythe. He's out there swinging this scythe in these beautiful arcing curves, and every once in a while he'll cut some grass, he'll cut off a branch of a tree, but it's like these really beautiful, sinuous moves. And it's really, really weird. He's staring in at them with this terrifying expression. This whole time he's doing this wild whirlwind dance outside their house, and it's just creepy and crazy, and they don't know what to do. And this guy, their neighbor, sits out there for 2 to 3 hours performing this wild, weird, ritualistic dance. And at some point, Gloria, she's so scared she doesn't know what to do. She calls the police, and she's like, this is what's going on. And she actually called one of her friends who's a police officer. It's not actually, she didn't call like the police station. She just knew one of the local cops. He calls him, and she's like, what should I do? And this guy's like, he hasn't harmed you, hasn't done anything. You should call the police and give a formal report. That way we have it on file and we can do something about it. And Gloria says, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. But then she hangs up and she decides, you know what? This guy's weird, but they're all weird. And they always do weird stuff. And even though this is way more bizarre than any of the stuff they've ever done, he's just out there dancing. He's not attacking us. He didn't verbally threaten us. He's just dancing. And yes, it's weird. And he has a scythe. And the whole idea of it is wild. But he hasn't threatened us or harmed us at all. So I'm not going to call the cops. And so at some point, after, like I said, 2 to 3 hours, this guy finally finishes his dance and he returns home. And Gloria thinks, finally, thank God. And she's got like, literally, she's so scared. She's got like cold sweat and her hair standing on end. I mean, this was just a really viscerally weird experience. But it's finally over. And so her and her husband and her daughter, they all go to bed and they're asleep. And it seems like everything's going to be over. Middle of the night, around 3 a.m., and Gloria wakes up. And she realizes right away she has to use the bathroom. That's what's woken her. And so Gloria, she slowly gets up and pads her way through the house to head towards the restroom. And as she's passing by this window that sort of faces out towards the bluffs, she has to stop and do a double take. Because she looks out, and from her door to the tip of the bluffs is maybe like 300 meters away. Think about almost like 3 football fields of distance. That's about how far away it is. And that all the way over there, standing on the tip of the bluffs, is what appears to be a man that is just glowing bright green. Like he's just emitting green light. So much so that you can't really make out any of his features. Gloria was looking at him, and it's like he was in the shape of a person, but he's just this glowing green entity. And Gloria can't even believe this. She rubs her eyes. She literally pinches herself to make sure she's not dreaming or that she's not seeing something. But no matter what she does, this figure persists on the top of these bluffs. And it's a beautiful night. The moon is out. It's great visibility. There's nothing in the way. She sees this as clear as day. And then this thing, this creature, this entity, whatever it is, it's like as it's standing there, this weird fog rolls in. And it doesn't roll in all over the place. It quickly rolls in right around this thing. Almost like this weird supernatural fog kind of coalesces around this creature. And then as it starts to form, this creature floats forward on this like bed of fog towards Gloria's house. Now Gloria wants to scream. She wants to run and get her husband. She wants to do all these things, but she's literally frozen in place in terror and confusion. What in the world could this thing possibly be? And she's watching as it floats all the way down this path, and it eventually makes its way right by her house. And it floats right up to that section where her neighbor just earlier that night was doing this crazy ritualistic scything dance. And once it gets there, this thing, this glowing green entity, it just dissipates. It just sort of fades into the fog and it all disappears. And now all of a sudden, Gloria's just staring out at her field and her bluffs, and there's nothing else there. And so after a couple of minutes, she slowly makes her way to the bathroom, and then she makes her way to the bed, and she just lays there for hours, contemplating what this could possibly be or mean. But eventually, at some point, she finally falls asleep. And then the next day she gets up and everything seems pretty normal. Nothing crazy with her neighbors, no weird things to see. That night goes totally normal. She's watching out the window for something weird. She's got her husband on alert, nothing. And so the next couple days pass and Gloria thinks, as bizarre as that whole encounter was, and it was weird, at least it's over. And so 3 days pass without any further incident, and now Gloria's outside gardening. Now, obviously, she just likes to garden, but it's something she has to do to upkeep these properties because of the Airbnb. If she's trying to rent these properties out, they have to look nice. And so she makes sure to take care of all the houses in the surrounding land, and she's out gardening in front of her house, and she's right at this spot where all of this weirdness happened, the dance and the green man and all that, and she's here and she's working on her garden, and all of a sudden she has to drop her gardening tools and grip her chest because there's this massive pain in her chest, totally out of nowhere. And her husband sees her doing this, and he runs over and grabs her, rushes her to the hospital, only to find out that Gloria, young, healthy Gloria, who's never had really any medical problems whatsoever in her life, was standing on a spot where there was a crazy dance ritual and then a weird glowing green man, and she just so happened to have a massive heart attack on that exact spot. Now, eventually, Gloria would go on to make a recovery, and she still resides at that property, and she still has tension with her neighbors, but she says, it's been a few years, and she's a skeptic. She does not believe in supernatural or paranormal events, but she looks back at this time where she saw this wild, scything dancing ritual, and this weird glowing green man dissipate into mist, and at that same exact spot, she has a heart attack, and she's left to wonder, did this weird family somehow perform some ancient, bizarre death ritual on her? And so that's going to do it for today's story. If you found yourself enjoying this or any of the stories on my channel, first-hand true accounts of the supernatural, paranormal, things that go bump in the night, then allow the spirits to guide your planchette to both the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you get notified every time I upload new content, which is every single day. I upload shorts all 7 days of the week, and then on Monday and Friday I also upload long-form content, all at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Second, of course, like I said, all my stories are true first-hand accounts of the supernatural and paranormal, and so if you or anybody you know has a story and you think it would fit well on my channel, please just reach out to me on any of my social media, and we'll find a time to get together, collect your story, and potentially feature it one day here on The Orator. And so until next time, where you will see that the fire is stoked, you may pull up your chair and settle in, and I will have another tale to tell.